Let me be very clear. The FBI is withholding information. Somebody does not want Pam Bondi to have the information she wants the public to have right now. And she is, I rarely use this word, guys, she's pissed. Pam Bondi is absolutely, positively pissed. This letter that she just sent to Kash Patel at the FBI shows that she is furious. Why? Because she asked for the FBI records as they pertain to one Jeffrey Epstein. And what did she get? Nothing. She got information that was already publicly available and everybody's already seen. So that is a problem. I want to read to you the letter that she sent out there. I have a lot of theories, by the way, on just exactly why this is going down the way it is. And, I got to tell you, Comey, what the heck was going on there? It's another big story that we're covering today. His honeypot scandals. One has to wonder how many honeypot scandals were going on with Jeffrey Epstein as well. And whether the U.S. intelligence divisions knew all about it and sanctioned those honeypot scandals. I have a guy coming on the program today, George Papadopoulos. You remember him? He was the guy that was working on the Trump campaign. And he was the victim of 3 honeypot schemes. Ooh, he's got a lot to say. And he is thrilled that Kash Patel is opening a criminal investigation into James Comey and what went down with those alleged honeypot schemes. But that's different from what we're looking at right now with Epstein. We have a lot of questions on Epstein. We want to know exactly what he was doing, why he was doing it, who he was working for, and of course, just exactly who polished him off, if in fact that's what happened. The party line is different, right? So Pam is demanding this information. She's not getting it. So she writes a letter and released this today. Dear Director Patel, before you came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents, which consisted primarily of flight logs. By the way, we have a lot of that already. Epstein's list of contacts, again, we actually have a lot of that already, and a list of victims' names and phone numbers. And of course, she wanted to be very careful and very cautious about not releasing anything as it related to the victims. She went on to say, I repeatedly questioned whether there was a full set of documents responsive to my request and repeatedly assured by the FBI that we have received the full set of documents. Yeah, right. Late yesterday, I learned from a source from the FBI field office in New York that it was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, Pam writes, the FBI never disclosed the existence of these files. When you and I spoke yesterday, you were just as surprised as I was to learn of this new information. So, she writes, by 8 a.m. tomorrow, February 28th, the FBI will deliver the full and complete Epstein files to my office, including all records, documents, audio, and video recordings, because that all exists, and materials related to Jeffrey Epstein and his clients, regardless of how such information was obtained. There will be no withholdings nor limitations to my or your access. The Department of Justice will ensure that any public disclosure of these files will be done in a manner to protect the privacy of victims and in accordance with the law, as I have done my entire career as a prosecutor. I am directing you to conduct an immediate investigation into why my order to the FBI was not followed. You will deliver to me a comprehensive report of your findings and propose personnel action within 14 days. I appreciate your immediate attention to the importance in this matter. You guys, they got a civil war going on. They got an FBI that is absolutely refusing to play ball with the new kid in town, one Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. There are a lot of documents. Don't tell me 200 pages is going to cover it. If I were to print out, and I think this is a matter of public record, I was actually Zero Hedge, a website I like. I was on their site last night and they had a link to all of the flight logs that had already been published. And there's quite a bit of information out there. And so you can see all that. It's there. That'll fill 200 pages right then and there. And they think that they're going to pull the wool over Pam Bondi's eyes? I don't think so, guys. You know what? She's not stupid. Cash is not stupid. I'm not stupid. The public's not stupid. And certainly the President of the United States is not stupid. What's up with that? The woman who is leading the task force, meanwhile, Representative Anna Luna Polina out of Florida, she's not one bit happy at all with this as well. You know, she didn't even get, I'm sure Pam was like, well, why bother? Why bother giving her this information? She's like, wait a second. I had to read about this in the New York Post. What the heck? Apparently they invited some influencers in and they handed them this phase 1 thing, which was irrelevant, okay? So you don't have any information that's really, it's like, okay, just we're going to send this out in dribs and drabs. But you know what? Pam knew. Pam knew that Anna was going to look at that and be like, you got to be kidding me. So if this is phase 1, phase 2 is due by 8 a.m. tomorrow, February 28th. She wants the complete and full Epstein records. How much you want to bet they have no intention of giving it to her? No intention of all. And meanwhile, that's if they even still have them. I mean, let's be honest. If there's what I believe going on, then entirely possible that these documents have already been destroyed. In fact, there's an FBI whistleblower out right now that's warning of this. His name is Garrett O'Boyle, and he was on my friend Benny's show just yesterday. I want to play this clip for you because this is very important.
That there are FBI servers that are sort of standalone, and people inside the FBI have been working night and day to destroy files on these servers. And I was told that once these files are destroyed, the way they are set up, that even Elon Musk could not restore them. So that's happening right now as we speak.
Okay, that was 24 hours ago. They do not want Pam Bondi nor Kash Patel to have access to the information and files surrounding one Jeffrey Epstein. Now, why might that be? Why is she being forced to have to issue this letter? I mean, I think we know what's going to happen next, right? She's going to make this demand. Nothing else is going to happen. And we're going to come to the conclusion that he is somehow, perhaps, and this is what I want to know the answer to, a protected asset, was a protected asset. Okay, the guy's a scumbag, right? I'm not going to get into the details of what he did, but it would actually make you absolutely positively sick. We know that, okay? And he took up with a scumbag, the woman who's now in jail for some 20 years. This woman was the daughter of Ghislaine, if I'm saying that right. She was the daughter of somebody named Robert Maxwell, who was a big media mogul in the UK. And he was alleged to have done work for all kinds of people, all right, so this is how it all ties back. So she's got this dad who apparently was responsible for putting in surveillance software called Promise into global governments all around the world. And allegedly, this Promise software gave some kind of backdoor entry for the Mossad intelligence group into understanding other intelligence agencies around the country. Forgive me, the world. So he at some point died suspiciously. He was drowned, apparently. And there's a lot of sort of suspicion that was actually a hit job of sorts. But there's also belief that somehow she was, as his most favorite child, as his most favorite daughter, she was groomed to kind of take over the family business, if you would. And the family business was gathering compromise on people, which means stuff that can be used against them in the event that you may want to do so. And this is sadly something that intelligence agencies all around the world actually engage in. And so if she were to carry on the business, how might she do that? You'd need somebody darn charismatic who could actually court all these influential people, entertain all these influential people, and have some kind of something on them that could be used in the event a government so decided it needed to. This is the thinking anyway. And this is one of the things that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are going to try and come out, and Dan Bongino to prove out. Because you know what? I'm sorry, like, you know what? The honeypot stuff is bad enough. And we're going to talk to George later about that because he had 3 honeypots come his way. But in this case, you're talking about young kids, okay? Young women. And it makes my stomach turn to even talk about this and think about this. But if our government knew this was going on and allowed this to go on for their own benefit, then to hell with them all. You know what? To hell with them all. And that is why you need to go in and bust up the whole frickin' place. And so if Pam doesn't get that information, she now has it in writing to Kash Patel that there should be consequences, which means heads are going to roll like you've never seen before at the FBI. Because you cannot engage in a cover-up at this point. The American people have put Donald Trump there because they want to know the answers to these questions. Back to the questions, okay? So Epstein was a very charismatic. I actually never met him, but I have spoken with sources who knew him quite well. And they said he was just like the most charismatic man, like just unbelievable. They'd never known anybody so charming, so entertaining and so charming. Well, somehow, he started out as a math teacher at Dalton, which is a private school on the Upper East Side of New York, and it went from there to become a trader, just a floor trader at Bear Stearns. Something happened at Bear Stearns. This is like back in the 80s. And he left and he hung out a shingle and he suddenly became, Epstein Enterprises or whatever the name of his company was. And he was an asset manager, they said, but he didn't have any clients. And like typically, if you're an asset manager, there's lots of records of all your financial dealings, this, that, and the other, and you're making investments. He only had one client, a guy named Les Wexner, who's the founder of Victoria's Secret, L Brands, right? And this guy is rumored to have had a lot of connections with U.S. intelligence agencies, etc. Somehow along the way, Ghislaine, forgive me, I know I'm mutilating that. It's French, what can I say? Well, Ghislaine gets to meet Jeffrey, and knowing that she needs, she's got all these contacts in the intel community. She really needs somebody to take over this family business of compromise. What if they can take it to the next level? I mean, what if you were to put that surveillance software in all of these rooms, in his New York home, in his Caribbean homes, in his planes? I mean, if you put all this software in and you could surveil people, very important people at all times, and then, you really got some pretty awful stuff on them because, again, I'm not going to get into details, but you know what I'm talking about. Well, is that how he made his money? Right? Because it doesn't seem to have been asset management per se. No, you just have one client. And how is it that when it all came out, he got 8 months? And he only had to do 12 hours in jail and 12 hours off? What was that? I mean, they knew what was going down. And yet he got this sweetheart plea deal back in 2008 in Florida. And the former U.S. attorney at the time, Alex Acosta, who had handled the case, allegedly later told the Trump people that Epstein, quote, belonged to intelligence. That's why he went easy on him, because he, quote, belonged to intelligence and should be left alone. Which gets me back to, whoa, what was that? So did Epstein take over the Maxwell family business using the Promise software that her dad had been putting into global governments? They put the Promise software into the homes, and then they entertained every Tom, Dick, and Harry, that was somehow a billionaire or a prince or whatever else. And they got compromising material on them. And this is like big time honey traps, honey pots, whatever you want to call them. I mean, Comey's looking like, tame with what he did with George Papadopoulos. We'll talk to George in a little bit. Although no excuse for Comey either, by the way, because that's a whole other thing. They were trying to embed the Trump campaign to try and spy on the Trump campaign. And George thinks they were actually doing this to a lot of the Republican contenders. I mean, we're suddenly talking about a lot of honey traps all of a sudden, right? All these honey traps, which I'm going to get back to something as a woman. What the heck are they doing with women, right? In intelligence. And certainly when it comes to Epstein, this stuff is super sad, just super awful, okay? So you've got Epstein getting the sweetheart deal. Nobody knows quite why he got that. And it wasn't until, 2019, everything started coming forward, more so, especially after Prince Andrew was in the news. And then they moved forward with these things in New York. And yet, he wasn't in jail very long. Now, was he? Before he suddenly died. They say he took his own life. I'm not buying that. You buying that? I'm not. First of all, I spoke recently with somebody who, was the doctor, actually, of both Ghislaine and Jeffrey. So he had been his doctor for many years. And he said to me that he spoke to him like the day before he died, and he was fine. He was totally fine. He was having, not to be indelicate, but I might as well, put it all out there, having some constipation issues, okay, the doctor said. And so the doctor was advising him on that. This would gel with what we also heard from lawyers who said he seemed in high spirits, and he was actually apparently willing to cooperate and turn over a lot of information. Apparently, Ghislaine was not willing to do that. She was like, which kind of makes you wonder. She was like running the whole thing, right? Like she's not willing to. So there were people that may have been, I'm just saying, now I don't have any proof on this. Pam Bondi's looking for proof on this. Cash is looking for proof on this. I'm just speculating here based on a couple things. One, how is it that the guards are asleep or not there when he's been moved into a private cell, right? You moved him into a private cell, even though I spoke with the doctor, and the doctor said he was totally fine and in high spirits. Lawyers have said he was fine and in high spirits. You moved him into a private cell. You said he was on watch, and yet the guys that were supposed to be watching him fell asleep. And then on top of that, the cameras went out. Oh, gee, what are the odds of that? And then the autopsy report was suspicious as well. So I'm just trying to put two and two together with the fact that for whatever reason, the FBI will not turn over the files that it needs to turn over to Pam Bondi. And I'm combining that together again with what the FBI whistleblower Garrett O'Boyle, who's testified before Congress, said less than 24 hours ago. Let's listen again.
That there are FBI servers that are sort of standalone, and people inside the FBI have been working night and day to destroy files on these servers. And I was told that once these files are destroyed, the way they are set up, that even Elon Musk could not restore them. So that's happening right now as we speak.
Okay. And that may be in part why Pam Bondi cannot get the information she so desperately needs in order to understand what's really going on. But I think what we're coming to the realization of is we got an intel community that's bigger and better than everyone ever. I mean, not better. Wrong choice of words. But they think they're better. They think they're better than the people in charge. Chuck Schumer recently going on MSNBC to remind everybody of that particular threat. Listen.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know,
to?
but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking. Without the intelligence community, we wouldn't have discovered it.
Do you think he has an agenda to try to dismantle parts of the intelligence community? I mean, this form of taunting hostility.
Whether you're a super liberal Democrat or a very conservative Republican, you should be against dismantling the intelligence community.
I mean, unless the intelligence community is exploiting young women. That's my question. Like, if they knew this was all going down, but they gave him special protections because it was in their interest to do so. I mean, there's ways of doing things, people, and there's ways of doing things. And this is not one of the ways of doing things, right? You don't look the other way on stuff like that. Come on. We're all human beings. Get a little religion in your life, all right? On top of that, I mean, you know they lie. They lie. Look at those lies that they told us. All of them about Hunter Biden. Piece of work he is. Wouldn't be surprised if he was down there on those flight logs too. All right, Hunter Biden. I mean, that laptop from HELL, that laptop, they tried to pass off, while the FBI had been investigating it, as no problem at all, that was just misinformation. If you believed anything that Rudy Giuliani was saying about that laptop, then you were the crazy one. I mean, talking about gaslighting people, and 51 of them, like big deal people, including the former deputy director of the CIA, Mike Morrell. We had Antony Blinken, whose idea, this was his brainchild. Let's do this. He told Mike Morrell, Antony Blinken, who went on to become Secretary of State. You think that we're going to trust you guys now when you always tell us it's us that's wrong and yet we're the ones that are right and you're the ones that are wrong? You think Pam Bondi appreciates getting a bunch of information that was already out there? You think she's dumb? No. You know what? If this is going to be a civil war between Trump and the intel community, you know, you think you're going to win that? I'm not so sure. I hear your threats, Chuck Schumer. I hear your threats. I'm not impressed. You know, James Comey, former head of the FBI, who would have known all about this, by the way, he just wanted Trump in jail, remember?
Just put him in a double wide somewhere out near the fence, out in the grass. And he would eat there, he'd shower there, he'd exercise there, he'd be away, as Danya Perry said, from general population, but it's obviously doable.
Oh, come on. Okay, so he didn't want him. Now Chuck Schumer's saying, hey, don't mess with intelligence because, you know, they're going to come back and get you. Comey, meanwhile, was always worried about this because apparently there are things that go on that you're just supposed to look the other way on. And I don't think Americans like this. I get it. All right, we're all big boys and girls here at the table, and we understand the way the world works and that there are some bad things that happen. But when you're talking about the bad things that happened here, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a pass. FBI, CIA, whoever you are that was okay with this, you really not. If there's a connection between Jeffrey Epstein and these intelligence divisions, we're not giving you a pass. No freaking way, okay? Because Americans actually have a backbone and we have ethics and we don't want intelligence operations acting or working like that. By the way, would you stop using attractive women, for goodness sakes? Here's Comey, totally worried about what would go down should Donald Trump win.
When you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters because of a reason like that. People have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, you must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
Oh, because we might actually find out what really happened? You don't want the American people to find out? Clearly, somebody doesn't want the American people to find out, which is why they gave Pam Bondi nothing. And this is why Pam Bondi is saying she wants it all. She wants all the videotapes. She wants all the phone records. And if she doesn't get it from the FBI field office in New York, there's going to be hell to pay. Thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation, related to the indictment of Epstein. She wants all of it. And she wants it by 8 a.m. tomorrow. Audio, video recordings, all of those things that they took from the house. Now, what if they've already been destroyed? That's going to be an issue, is it not? Unbelievable. You know, guys, I'm saddened by this whole thing. I'm saddened because you like to think that our government is above certain things. You like to think that we wouldn't ever do what is alleged may have happened.